Hey horror fans, welcome back to Room 237 here for another horror movie review. And in the trend of me rewatching a lot of my old Italian horror films, I haven't done any by my favorite Italian director yet. And this is one I haven't seen in a long time, so I decided to revisit it, and that is The Beyond. This is a Grindhouse release, which they do great releases. Like, that is Fulci's entire discography. Comes with a poster. I have the poster hanging up there. I also have one for Pieces. I have the poster hanging up there too. First, real quick, I just want to give a quick shout out to Lord Hellhound from HorrorMetal. I've been watching your channel quite a bit lately. I know this is his favorite film of Fulci's, so give him a shout out. I'm going to put a link to his channel down below so you guys can go check his channel out. He does all horror movies. He does a great job. I really like his channel. So, Lord Hellhound, keep up the good videos. So, Lucio Fulci. Yeah, he's my favorite Italian horror director. He's been called the godfather of gore, which has also been given to George Romero. It's also been given to Herschel Gordon Lewis. He's always sort of been neck and neck with Dario Argento. I think his films are a bit more raw, definitely more violent. Argento's are definitely more atmospheric, aesthetically pleasing. His stories are usually better. Because that's the thing with Fulci, like, the narrative structure to this is not very strong, but there's a lot that happens in it. This is also part of his Gates of Hell trilogy. It started with City of the Living Dead, which I actually like more than this, and House by the Cemetery, which I might actually like this more. I don't really remember. I'll have to revisit that one also. My favorite Fulci film is Zombie. I'm definitely going to be doing that soon. So, The Beyond, yeah, the story's going to be a little hard to get into because the narrative's really messed up. I know that was a common complaint upon its release, was that its narrative just is not that great. I'm going to say spoilers right now because usually I would only spoil movies I think are shitty. Ones that I like and would like people to see, I'm not really going to spoil, but there's a lot of fun stuff in this. And I'm just going to talk about a lot of the gory stuff because that's really what people remember. I mean, the story isn't terrible. It's just the structure isn't that great. But spoilers from here on out. So if you haven't seen The Beyond, but you want to see a good 80s horror film, Italian horror film, or you want to get into Fulci, definitely check this out. This is revered as one of his best films. A lot of people think so. Personally, for me, it's still Zombie. I still like City of Living Dead better. Even some of his Giallo films, like Don't Torture a Duckling, from what I remember, I still like better. But The Beyond, it opens up in, what is it? Like 1927 in Louisiana. In this big house. There's this guy who, you see this, I don't know if you can see that. This symbol shows up a lot in the film. This guy gets nailed to a wall and he gets I think it's like molten something. Because it's got like a sepia, or like a black and white type tone over it. He gets this molten stuff thrown on him. And, great gore effects. The gore effects in this, along with most Fulci films, are fantastic. Some of the best I've ever seen. So then we go 54 years later to 1981, which is when this came out. We get this woman, Liza, played by Katrina McCall. I thought her name was I knew it was McCall, but I thought her first name was different. Her name's Liza. She's trying to reopen this building. It was always a hotel, but she wants to reopen it. It's called the Seven Doors Hotel. And pretty much it is one of these 7 gateways to hell. And all this horrific shit keeps happening. And sort of unbeknownst to her, she has a friend named John who's a bit of a skeptic. And pretty much we just see all this shit happen to all these different people. This is a woman named Emily. Of course, you can see she's blind. Liza meets her somewhere down the road. She has a German Shepherd blind seeing dog. Whenever she's around, there's like this piano number that plays. If you listen to Necro, the death rapper Necro, that's used on his song As Deadly As Can Be. So that's pretty awesome. But, you know, the basement's flooded, and I mean, even from the beginning, this plumber goes down, he sees a hole in the wall, this corpsey hand comes out and gouges his eye out. His wife and daughter take him to the morgue to get, you know, soup put on him. There's this really old corpse there that I believe is the corpse from the guy in the beginning from like 50-something years ago. She puts the suit on him, and then she screams in fright, and then when her young daughter walks in, where the mother fell over, she like hit a table and this jar of acid is just constantly pouring on her face. We see it melt. And then like this dead body this corpse starts coming out of the freezer to grab the girl. Then her eyes turn white, so she goes blind. And I mean, it's pretty much just a string of events. Just a bunch of scenes that pull this movie together. Like there's this one scene where this scene actually got under my skin. A friend of hers goes to the library to find building plans for this hotel. And he's up on a ladder looking at the book, and he's like, what the hell? Because the plans look absurd. He falls off the ladder, gets unconscious, or hits himself in a way so he gets paralyzed. And all these fucking tarantulas start coming out. I mean, some of them look kind of fake because they're walking like this, but up close they're real. And they're crawling all over him, all over his face and his hands. And then you see them, like they bite here, they bite his eye, they crawl down his mouth, they bite his ear. Like they're just taking chunks out of him. Again, gore looks great. And then, you know, there's just more scenes, like, apparently she's like a messenger from hell or something. And towards the end, like, all the bodies of all the people we've seen get killed are, like, in her living room. Great lighting. Since this is an Italian film, the lighting is phenomenal. It's very dark. There's a lot of shadows. She's like, no, I don't want to go back. I've done what I was told. She sicks the dog on one of them, and then it gets all quiet, and the dog comes back to sit with her. And then the dog just snaps on her, bites this out, bites her ear off. I mean, great, like, snappy, like, latex, gushing blood. Looks beautiful. I mean, I literally just got done watching this, but there's so much that, and I haven't seen it for a long time. It's been like 6 years since I've seen this. But, you know, that's pretty much what it is. It's just a bunch of these horrific scenes strung together to pull the plot along. And, you know, like, the girl Liza starts to think maybe something's wrong with this building. Her friend John doesn't believe her. And, you know, towards the end, he's like, that blind girl Emily doesn't exist. The house you say she lives in has been abandoned for 50 years. You know, there's this. So then, that's more towards the end. Then he finds out that he's full of shit. There's this maid that works at the hotel. She goes up to this one room. This bathtub's full of this filthy brown water. She pulls out a clump of hair, and as it drains, it's the plumber from the beginning, the guy's eye gouged out. All the corpses in this movie look like rotting corpses. Just like in Zombie. The undead in Fulci's films look like corpses. You can almost smell them through the screen. And that's just how fantastic the makeup is. I'm kind of all over this place review because, again, the narrative just isn't strong. But everything else is great. The music, the cinematography, it's very raw. Even the dubbing, the voice acting was not bad. Like, I didn't seem to notice it. It went over my head. It's not boring. This is not a boring movie. It's just, there's just a lot of shit that happens. I know I'm getting kind of repetitive. But, oh, and pretty much, I guess the whole catalyst of this is the guy from the very beginning, he was killed in room 36. So the service bell for room 36 keeps going off. That's sort of the room 237 of this hotel. That's like the room of manifestation, or that's like the hottest room, I guess, for activity. And so, towards the end, John takes Liza. He's going to take her to the hospital. Something's wrong with you. We got to go see my friend Harrison. We can figure something out. Well, when they get to the hospital, all the patients and everyone in the hospital is undead. And I mean, it's like a swarm of zombies. And, this was sort of the age of George Romero. This was shortly after Dawn of the Dead. But they don't look like Dawn of the Dead. They're not like bluish looking. Or some of the fresher bodies look, they just kind of darken their eyes a little bit. But some of the rotting ones look fantastic. And that John guy, he's great with a gun. He has a 6-shooter, but he just keeps fucking shooting them. I never see him load it, but he shoots a bunch of them, always in the head. And what's really funny, every time he shoots one in the head, it's just like a little bullet hole. The little redhead girl whose dad got his eye gouged out and her mom got the face full of acid. She's there and her eyes are all white. Well, when she starts to attack Liza and John goes to shoot her, and her whole fucking head just explodes. It's like all these other people just get like a little bullet hole, but this like little 12-year-old girl just gets her whole face fucking decimated. They're trying to get away from all the undead. They go downstairs and they find out they're back in the flooded cellar of the hotel. And this is when it starts to hit even the skeptic John, like, this isn't right, this is weird. Then they keep walking, they end up outside in this wasteland. And when they walk up to the camera, we see that their eyes are white. So they've pretty much crossed through the gates and now they're in hell. And you get this voiceover that's like, and you shall see the sea of darkness and explore all therein, or whatever. Because there's also this book, I can't remember what the cover says. I know it's in Italian. I think it's Italian for Abel. Because the guy, John, references the Book of Abel, where it talks about the gates of hell and everything. That's another thing that I guess isn't real, but Liza keeps obsessing over it. Like, I gotta find this book, I just had this book, I gotta find this book. He keeps saying there is no book. Then when he does find it, it's at where the blind girl supposedly lived, that's abandoned. And I mean, I'm pretty much just giving you the gory bits, while the story's kind of all over the place, because that's kind of how this movie is. I mean, this review is so fucking repetitive. But I mean, it is kind of a hard movie to review. Because there isn't much of a story. It's just there's a hotel that is a gateway to hell. And it's not like The Omen, or like in The Omen where Gregory Peck slowly discovers more and more about how his son's the Antichrist. It's not like Rosemary's Baby, where Rosemary discovers more and more about how this cult is sort of overseeing her pregnancy and might have sold her soul. It's not like that. I mean, there's no like characters investigating the beyond or anything. She does a little bit, but not too much. She just kind of goes with everything that's going on around her. It's mostly just like, you know, every few minutes you get a gory or terrifying scene, which is absolutely fine with me. Which, oh yeah, the maid with the sink, when the guy comes out of it, there's still nails in the wall from where the guy in the beginning was nailed to the wall. The guy takes her head, pushes it through the nail comes out her eye, and it, again, the gore is just fantastic. I love the effects in Fulci films. They are just some of the best I've ever seen. They are up there with like K&B or Tom Savini. But yeah, this is probably Fulci's most ambitious film, at least that I've seen, I guess I can say. You know, it's not like a giallo film. His other Gates of Hell movies are like one is a city, one is a house by the cemetery. It seems smaller scale. It seems more, those are more like Night of the Living Dead, where this is more like Day of the Dead, I guess. I mean, the ending feels like a zombie film, less than like a really supernatural film. Which, that's another thing. I said before that I'm more people on people horror. I don't really get into supernatural stuff very much, unless it's very interesting. Like, unless it's like an Evil Dead 2 type movie, or even like Omen or The Exorcist, I don't really get into supernatural stuff unless it's really interesting or very gory. This is very gory, and even though the structure wasn't that great, I still found it very interesting. I was not bored once during this. I thought this is a great movie. But again, I see why people struggle with the story. I mean, I highly recommend it. This is a great horror movie. I know, like, this image of the front, you know, this cover is something horror fans have seen a lot of. The music, we've heard a lot. Like that one where the blind girl, Emily, the little piano, that's memorable. The music at the end, where all the undead's coming out, that's memorable. The creepiest shot, because there's a lot of good creepy shots too. My favorite shot is when John and Liza go to leave the hotel for good to go to the hospital. And as they're pulling out, like, it's completely nighttime, but we see the hotel. And one by one, we see a light turn on. Like, all the curtains are closed, but we see a light turn on. And we just see the silhouettes of all the undead, and we hear the moans of them, like, lights turning on and them walking, stumbling by the windows. Very eerie, very creepy shot, but very well done. And again, that tarantula scene, that really got under my skin, because I fucking hate spiders. That's probably my biggest weakness of fear, is fucking spiders. But yeah, The Beyond, I definitely recommend it. I mean, you could try to follow the story. The story is there. I'm not going to say it isn't. Again, it's just, I can't say enough. The structure isn't that great. But there is enough gore effects. There's enough scare scenes. It's, a lot of it, like the spider scene, a lot of stuff is played out very surreal. I think some reviewers have even called it almost like a fever dream type state. Fever dream surrealism. And I can definitely see that. But The Beyond, definitely a great Fulci film. If you just want to see a good, solid, gory, especially Italian film, or, you know, even if you just want to pick up a random Fulci film, I don't see why this can't be it. The Beyond is pretty awesome. But for 1237, I'm almost at 20 minutes, so that's all I got. Thank you.